Fran Humphreys. I'm here reporting on behalf of Prosperity South, a loose-knit network of southern Alberta cities, towns, community groups, and private business people who have come together to work cooperatively on building a healthier economy for our region. This group is unique because it has no rules for membership outside of an attitude. That's a commitment to cooperation and sharing information. To learn a little bit more about this initiative, we'll talk to Calgary Mayor Al Duerr. This concept of cooperative communities was a dream of his that came alive about 3.5 years ago. We'll also meet Rueben Nelson, a facilitator for Prosperity South and a futurist, whose vision has helped bring this small group of 40 to a threshold of over 320 members. Mayor Duerr, where did the idea for Prosperity South come from?
The idea was born of an initiative that started in 1988 in Calgary. The Calgary into the 21st Century initiative was basically an economic development strategy, a long-term economic development strategy for Calgary. What came out of that strategy was a recognition that we're not really just looking at Calgary. We had to take an all-Alberta approach. So back in 1991, we looked at this and said, how do we make this a reality? You know, how do we start approaching all of Alberta? What is our mandate? And we felt that maybe there was an opportunity if we started small. We started in southern Alberta, so we began very simply by inviting communities. The first meeting, just inviting a variety of communities and organizations to come together and see if they wanted to pursue this. At first there was a little hesitation, but I think everyone got over that. They realized that I think we were sincere about approaching it from an all-Alberta approach. That it was important to build an economic development strategy from the bottom up rather than the top down, and the rest is history.
Right. The membership's grown from about 40 in the first days to over 320 now. What do you think has been the thing that has attracted Albertans to it the most?
I think the greatest attraction of Prosperity South is the fact that the initiative is quite simple in concept. What we're really doing is saying to people, saying to communities and private sector organizations and community organizations that they have a role to play, that they really shouldn't be sitting back. There's an opportunity to move forward, and there's an opportunity to do it together. I think that the networking, the understanding that everyone gets of what other people are doing, the recognition that something happening in an adjacent community can also be a benefit to your community, that awareness has grown substantially.
Rueben, you've been involved in Prosperity South from the very beginning. What would you say makes Prosperity South so unique?
It's the fact that we've got folks from every sector of southern Alberta. There's people from municipalities, people from counties, there are councillors, so it's elected people, people from the private sector, people from some school boards. Everybody's there who's got an interest in southern Alberta, so that it breaks out of the normal kind of boxes of just a particular issue to all the interstitial and cross. The network, the fabric of, there's a phrase women use of reweaving the web. Well, what we're doing here is reweaving a web in southern Alberta that includes everybody.
What would you describe as the heart of Prosperity South? How's it funded? How do you work?
The heart of it is people's sweat equities. Prosperity South is a sweat equity operation. If you look at the actual cash flows on our budget, it's only a few $1,000s. But there's tens of thousands of dollars of people's energy that gets put into it. So the way it works is much like a family. You put into it, everybody gets out of it.
How would you describe the work of Prosperity South? What are some of the initiatives that have come out of it?
We work around projects, so that if somebody has a project, and it may be saying, I want to think about the role of an educational institution in my community and the way that that would help the community. If there are other people who are willing to share that project, then we create a project group. And so project groups do the ongoing work, and we meet twice a year in sessions like we're in today in order to hear reports back and kind of see each other and sniff each other and get energized again and those good things.
Perfect. What kind of changes have you seen in southern Alberta's communities as a result of this initiative?
I think the most noticeable change, at least in the relationships, is that when we started, There was, understandably, there was a huge amount of suspicion about Calgary. It's clearly the biggest place, and there's a sense in which it owns the place. And people were wondering, is this just a subtle strategy from Calgary to somehow take us over? And I don't sense that suspicion is there now. I think that now, 3.5 years later, that suspicion is gone. People trust at least Al Duerr and the Calgary Economic Development Authority and others that this is a genuine attempt to take an all-Alberta approach and to be serious that Calgary knows that Calgary can't thrive unless Southern Alberta thrives. And so that I think that trust is there, and so we're beginning to get past the kind of let's just talk a little bit with each other to doing serious work with each other.
It's kind of interesting that the mayor of Calgary would come up with an idea like this. Why would you care about starting up an initiative like this?
Well, I believe very strongly, and my roots are actually in rural Saskatchewan, but I have strong rural roots and lived in small communities a good part of my life. I believe very strongly that that we are much stronger if we have a chance to work more effectively together. Too many of the strategies in the past have focused on winners and losers. Everyone has been trying for and vying for advantage, trying to do a one-upmanship on another community or another province. I think we have to start thinking a lot more as Canadians. Thinking a lot more as selling ourselves as Canadians, and then we sell ourselves as Albertans, and then we can start getting about and getting down to the detail of our respective communities. Calgary benefits, if Southern Alberta is prosperous, Calgary is going to benefit. We're a major service center. If Calgary is prospering, the other communities in Southern Alberta are going to benefit from that. I think we've made a major breakthrough in an understanding of that. I think now people realize, as I felt back in the early 1990s, that maybe there was a different way of looking at this whole issue of economic development, that we didn't have to think of it in the context of just us, that if we opened ourselves, that we might create an opportunity that is much bigger. As an example, we're finding now the City of Calgary has 2 strategic economic alliances in Mexico. The one is in a large city, and that's appropriate for Calgary. The other is a smaller rural city. It's in a fairly wealthy agricultural area. We would like to strengthen that relationship, but there's actually a better fit with Prosperity South communities, and we're going to be encouraging them to get involved. So they have the advantage now of taking advantage of a Calgary initiative, a Calgary Strategic Alliance. It will make our strategic alliance with that community stronger by having them involved, because I think most of the economic development is going to occur in smaller communities with Colima, Mexico. Everyone wins. Colima has a better relationship. We have stronger ties with Mexico. We've fulfilled our commitments, and the other communities are going to be seeing the real direct spin-offs in terms of economic development initiatives. Just one example of how, if you start broadening your base and not thinking of just ourselves, our respective communities in a very narrow way, broadening that dimension, that we can create more opportunity.
What has Brooks gained from its involvement with Prosperity South? What kinds of things have you achieved as a result of the involvement with the group?
Many contacts, both in private and in the public sector. It's just been a tremendous exchange of information, things that you would take years to find out on your own. I think that's what we've gained.
What have you learned as a community about the benefits of cooperation?
I think what's really been brought to at least my attention is that through this, a mix of all these different people, different communities, there's a whole lot of paths that you don't have to try. By talking to each other, you find out where the errors are and where you go in economic development. Economic development is a very tricky path sometimes, and it's nice to be able to take shortcuts that other people have already tried. So I think that's what we've learned.
Bill, your community, Three Hills, has been involved in Prosperity South since the very beginning in 1991. What attracted you to the group?
I think I was very inquisitive about the whole nature of Prosperity South and the type of plateau, or the platform, I should say, that it was based on, and it gave it a positive opportunity for Three Hills to share in its in the mandate of what Prosperity South was developing, and consequently, the contacts that I've made, the people I've been introduced to, and the things I've been able to bring back to my community, I think have showed some positive things.
As you've heard, the key to success in Prosperity South is the sharing of ideas. People need to learn from each other about initiatives that are working in each other's communities. Here are some of the success stories, just a few of them, that are working around southern Alberta.
Thanks to some forward thinking in both the public and the private sector about 10 years ago, we began to implement some renewable energy strategies in the area. And if you've been down there recently, you will have seen Canada's largest wind farms. Now, these are actually electricity generating stations that are run by wind turbines. And they're very exciting to see and very exciting to be involved with. ART and the EDB is currently launching a marketing strategy for Pincher Creek that is centered on the wind. And we're not only going to be making money off of the wind as far as generating electricity is concerned, we're also really going to be trying to make people come into Pincher Creek to look and see what the wind can do for you as far as entertainment is concerned. This whole marketing strategy is, it involves several different facets, and it's geared towards getting people to come in off of Highway 3, down Highway 6, and into Pincher Creek, and to stay for a while, instead of just heading off down to Waterton Park or out to the BC border or wherever they were headed to. And we're quite hopeful that this project is going to be very successful. Right now, the EDB is in the process of going out and getting validation from the community for this marketing strategy. It's not something that we see as being top-driven, we see this as being community-driven. So not only are we getting validation from the community, we're also going to the community for ideas of ways to implement this project.
Another thing that is really going right now is the Crow's Nest Center. Now, this was a former hospital. And I guess everybody wondered what to do with a former hospital, and some people said bulldoze it down. And so we did get this facility going there for conferences and education. And what is happening, like we house the consortium, the Chinook Consortium, and they do upgrading, which is very important, especially now with so many miners that didn't bother to get their education because wages were so good. And so they have to be re-educated. Plus, we have post-secondary education, sometimes face-to-face and sometimes by the telephone system.
Banner Gelton started up, hired 30 people. They're up to 130, and then by 1995, 97, if things go, they're owned by the Dutch now. The company will double that. They've built a research station there, and it's just one of those things that clean air, as you people were talking about from down there, is what they wanted, and they wanted to be close to the Calgary Airport because these pills go all over the world, and they go by air.
For some time, the idea of an aviation program had been percolating up here, but as with many initiatives, we lack the confidence sometimes to step out and do these things. And I just happened to be walking down the hall one day, and one of the mission reps shoved a piece of paper in front of my face, and I thought, this is a strange way to recruit. But after talking, he says to me, are you interested in aviation? And I said, as a matter of fact, I am. He says, how come you don't do aviation at Prairie? And I said, well, that's something we'd really like to do. But, you know, economic times are tough and this and that. And he said, well, what do you need? And I said, well, for one thing, we need money. So he reached in his pocket, pulled out his checkbook, wrote a check for $100 and handed it to me and said, now here, start an aviation program. Now, in the big scope of things, what's $100, right? But it was the one little kick in the seat that I needed to really launch out and pursue this thing. I went home and told my wife what happened. I'm thinking, either there's some kook walking around at the school handing out $100 bills, or else maybe the Lord is trying to tell me something here. So I chose the latter, and we went from there. In 1992, we started the program. We aimed for 15 students. We got our 15 students plus 3 more that were working on advanced levels, and there were 2 staff families involved at that time. As of today, we have roughly 60 students that are involved in aviation in one stage or another. We have actually 9 staff families that are on board, and the spillover into the community is we're rolling over about $1 million a year into the community, which is a nice thing for a community of 3,300 people. And so it really is a win-win situation for all of us. The school is getting broader exposure, Three Hills is getting more exposure, and the economic draw is there to make it happen.
And our vision with Advantage Alberta is to promote all of Alberta, all the great things about Alberta here at this airport. So sort of define the Alberta experience to the world, if you like. And through the use of multimedia, video walls, and interactive kiosks, we want to promote all of Alberta's industries, tourism, but much more. The energy industry, things Susan talked about today, would be wonderful type of thing we could show at our airport. Energy, agricultural, food processing, forestry. Also to talk about or to profile business opportunities in Alberta. All the things that make Alberta a great place to have your business, our infrastructure, efficient transportation system, and of course the educated pool of labor we have in this province. The Calgary Airport Authority are providing the vision and the venue free of charge and the coordination for this project. And under the leadership of Ernie Caron, who I wish was here with us right now, we are extending to everybody in Alberta who is involved in any way in tourism and in economic development to utilize our airport facility to tell their story on video walls or to promote their sales on interactive kiosks. This is a completely not-for-profit venture in that the Calgary Airport Authority wants no profit from this, and it's certainly an all-Alberta community initiative.
There's no doubt that sharing information is working for Prosperity South members, but what keeps the initiative moving forward?
I think, too, on a number of specific initiatives, we've seen some significant progress. So people see value. And, you know, when you think in Waterton last fall, when they had the last Prosperity South meeting, there were 250 members. We're up to 320 right now. A lot of those from the private sector. I think it really shows that this has grown beyond just a nice idea. I think it'll end up being one of the most powerful economic development statements in the province. Our biggest problem is going to be having a name in the future, because we've got people from the far north now coming in and wanting to be members, and that's good. That's really encouraging, because it's not something that has been legislated. It's not something that people have been told to do. This is purely a voluntary initiative. People see value and want to participate. It's really quite exciting.
How do you see the organization progressing? What's the vision for the future?
Well, the agenda will be written by the folks, but we met yesterday and had a half day around economic development in small towns. So at our next meeting, we're going to be inviting not only the folks who are gathered today, but we're going to say to each of them, bring with you a social entrepreneur from your community, so that we're going to try to double the ranks, but with people who you might call spark plugs, self-starters, people who are community boosters and know how to get things done, so that we can harness that energy as well for the sake of Southern Alberta, and then we'll see what grows out of that.
What would you say to communities that are questioning the benefit of a program like this? What would you say to them about getting involved?
I would say get on board.
And you get out what you put in, right?
That's exactly right. If you don't put anything into it, or this type of organization won't get anything out of it, but otherwise it's very rewarding.
We've given you an experience of Prosperity South and the powerful cooperative relationships that exist in our region. The people that work on this initiative understand that working together is the only way we can survive in this fast-paced global economy. This is a living, growing initiative, and Prosperity South welcomes any new members that are interested in working together for the future. If you are interested, contact Brenda Dasher at the Calgary Economic Development Authority, P.O. Box 2100, Postal Station M, Calgary, Alberta, T2P 2M5. Phone number 403-268-1483 or fax 403-268-1946.